All right, so today I want to address a question I get asked all the time, and I mean all the time. The question is, Tony, you make these silly YouTube videos, and then you review headphones and tech products, and you make these kind of fun, silly videos, but then once in a while you make these you talk about these heavy philosophical topics, and it's like, it's kind of like a downer because it's kind of like just make fun videos, right? And I always thought to myself, how do you explain to somebody who's more sort of like happy-go-lucky and they're just a sweet person who likes to have fun and they like fun videos and they like fun stuff? How do you explain to them what it means to have existential thoughts, deep philosophical thoughts about existence and what it feels like, right? Because if you hear someone talking about heavy philosophical topics, it could just seem like, what are you doing? Just go have fun, right? But let me explain the mind to you of somebody who has I can't say the word existential thoughts. There we go. Existential thoughts. That's a tricky one. Okay, I'll explain what the mind is like of someone who thinks that way. And if you don't think this way, God bless you. You are the lucky one. So, okay, so let me, this is the best way I could explain what it's like to not be happy-go-lucky and be in your thoughts. Okay. Now, this video is not for the faint of heart. So, in fact, I would suggest maybe not even watching it. It's a little bit of a mind, well, you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so here we go. So imagine only two people exist. And they exist in this void, this infinite void. It's just you and someone else. This is just a thought experiment, so don't try to overthink like how this is possible, because you can overthink how any of this is possible too. So it's just a thought experiment. So go with me here. My only goal here is to make you understand what it's like for someone who has existential thoughts. Here we go. So it's you and one other person in this infinite void. Now, the only thing that exists is you, the other person, and two boulders or rocks. Two boulders or rocks that you can kind of like move and roll and push. Okay. So you and this other person, you're having a conversation. And you're like, man, can you believe this? Me and you exist in this infinite void. Pretty crazy, huh? And it just seems like we just keep existing here. We're kind of like eternal, like we just keep existing in this void. And what is this? What the hell is this void? How come me and you exist in this infinite void? It's driving me fucking crazy. Like, what the hell are we supposed to do, right? And after eons of time of doing this, that those two people having the same conversation with each other. You can call this the classic campfire conversation. We've all had it. You sit around the campfire, it's late at night, you look at the stars, everything seems mystical, and you wonder, wow, I wonder what's out there, right? And then you start talking about life, the universe, and then you go to sleep, and nothing was ever resolved. It never is. That's the amusement of that talk. So you have that talk for eon. So imagine the campfire talk for eons of time, all right? So that's you and this other person living in this infinite black void. So after eons of time of having the same conversation of like, how are we here? How is any of this possible? What is the point of all this? What is anything? Which is just me and you existing in this void. After doing this for eons of time, for whatever reason, you start paying attention to these two boulders, these two rocks sitting beside you. And you never paid much attention to them before for whatever reason. They were just always there. One day, you decide What is this boulder? What is this rock? What is this? And you start kind of like, pushing it a little bit. And you can feel this sort of satisfaction, this resistance of pushing this boulder. Oh, you're like, what? It's a sensation. You're happy to feel anything at this point. You've lived in a void with you and this other person for an infinity of time. So at this point, this is not much. It's just moving a boulder. But you start feeling some sort of sensation. So you start pushing this boulder more and more. And you work it up to it, and all of a sudden you're just pushing this boulder, and you're rolling it around, and you're pushing it, pushing this boulder, keep going, and you push the boulder. And then what you realize in that second is you have a revelation. And that revelation is miraculously, somehow, when you push this boulder around, you're at peace. All your existential thoughts go away. You're so lost in a moment in the experience of this, just pushing this boulder, that for the first time in your infinity of time, you sat there in that void, you got lost in a moment of pushing that boulder, and you stopped thinking about your existential thoughts. And then you tell your friend too, you go, you can't believe what I just discovered. See that boulder sitting beside you? Yeah. Start pushing it. So your friend has the same experience and his mind is blown too. And then you're both thinking, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Can you believe it? And your friend's saying, I know. Like when you were pushing that boulder, like all my existential thoughts went away. I was free. I was lost in a moment of just pushing this boulder. And then after you both have this revelation, you start talking to each other again, right? You start talking to each other again, and you ask yourself, wait a second. So what do we do now? And your friend's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Because we could either sit here and talk about existence and how there is no ultimate answer to the big questions, the campfire conversations. We could just sit here for another eon of time talking about how come me and you exist in this void together for infinity? What the hell? This is, being in these thoughts is crippling all the time. Because if there are no answers, you just exist and you're here, and we've talked about it for an eon of time, and there are no answers, nothing gets resolved. What do we do? And they both just agreed to just get lost in a moment of pushing that rock. So that's all they ever did. They just kept pushing that rock, because when they pushed that rock, they got lost in a simple moment of pushing that rock. And why did they push that rock? Because that's all you can do. That's literally all you can do. And that's again, existential thought. That's it. Wrapped up. Now, I think I explained that pretty well. About the only thing I didn't do well in that video is say the word existential. I struggled deeply with that, but I hope you guys can forgive me. And that's the mind of somebody who makes silly YouTube videos and likes to have fun. And for me, what that is, that's me pushing that boulder. Because if I don't push that boulder, I start talking about that kind of philosophical stuff, and it really gets you nowhere. So once in a while, you got to push that boulder, because that's all you can do. I hope that was fun for you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.